Okay, so now we will look into what happens to significant figures when we perform a certain arithmetic operations. When performing calculations with measured values, the result cannot be more accurate than the least precise measurement. So, this is the rule of thumb. When performing calculation with measured values, result cannot be more accurate than the least precise measurement. Using too many digits in final results can give a false impression of accuracy. When you are doing certain calculation using your calculator, you may end up with lots of digits, and that may give an impression that your measurement is that accurate. So, that should not be done. So, now let us look into the arithmetic operation of multiplication and division. The rule is the final result should have as many significant figures as the value with the least number of significant figures. So, we will learn understand this rule with the help of following example. Suppose the mass of an object is 4.237 grams, and as we have already learned how to find significant figures, we can see that it has 4 significant figures, 4, 2, 3 and 7, so 4 significant figures. Volume of the same object is given as 2.51 centimeter cube. It has 3 significant digits, 2, 5 and 1. Now, suppose you are asked to find the density of this object. So, what you will do is simply divide the mass with volume, and you will end up with a number in your calculator something like this, 1.68804781. So, if you write this number, then somebody will have an impression that the accuracy of your measurement is till this last digit 81, which is actually not the case. So, you need to round this number to just 3 significant figures, because the volume which you had 3 significant figures. So, the rule is the final result should have as many significant figures as the value with the least number of significant figures. So, volume has the least significant figures 3, so density will also have 3. So, you should write your answer as 1.69 gram per centimeter cubes. Now, coming to addition and subtraction. In the case of addition and subtraction, the rule is the final result should have as many decimal places as the input with the fewest decimal places. So, we will understand again this rule with following example. Suppose you have 3 numbers. First one is 436.32 gram, second is 227.2 gram, and the third one is 0.301 gram, and you are asked to sum all these numbers. Then if you use simple calculator, you will get sum as 663.821 gram. But this will be the wrong way of writing your result, because the final result should have as many decimal places as the input with the fewest decimal places, and the fewest decimal places are in this case 227.2 and only 1 decimal place. So, it is not right to write your result with so many numbers after decimal. You should write only till 1 decimal point. So, it will be 663.8 gram. Let us look into another example, which is about subtraction. If you are subtracting 0.307 and 304 from 0.307, your number should be 0.003 meters. You can also write it final result as 3 into 10 to power minus 3 meter. but you cannot write it as 3.00 into 10 to power minus 3 meter, because if you write in this way, it would imply more precision than the data supports. Your experiment is not that accurate, so that you can write these zeros after that thing. Now I will also give you some tips for rounding off the numbers, the right way to do this thing. For example, suppose you have a number with 2.746. So now if the last digit is more than 5, we round it up, because in 2.746 last digit 6 is more than 5, you should write it, you can write it as 2.75. On the other hand, if the last digit is less than 5, then you should drop it. For example, in 2.744, the last digit is 4, so if you want to round it, you have to drop it. So it will be 2.74. Now comes a very tricky situation. If the last digit is exactly 5, then what to do? So then there is this following convention is that if the last digit is just 5, we look into the second last digit with the digit before the last digit. And if that second last digit is even, you should drop the last digit. So for example, 2.745, the second last digit is even, so you should drop this 5 and it will be 2.74. On the other hand, if second last digit is odd, which in this number 2.735, then in this situation you should round it up. This 2.73 should become 2.74. So these are the normal conventions which are very often used in scientific research. So you should follow these rules. After you have learned about the rounding, how to round the numbers, I would like to give you some tips about a multi-step calculation. When you are doing multi-step calculations, one after the other, then it is always important to keep an extra digit in the intermediate steps. If you round too soon, you introduce rounding errors. And so this simple trick which I am telling you will keep your final answers accurate. For example, suppose I am dividing 1 by 9.58 and the number is, I just round it early and then I write it 0.104, which is basically correct if I have just one step, because this number has 3 significant digits and this also has 3 significant. But because we are doing multi-step calculation, there is another step after that, so you should not do it. Rather, you should write 1 digit extra than these significant digits. Otherwise, what will happen, suppose in the next step I just divide 1 by 0.104, then your answer will be 9.62, which is not the same which was in the beginning. On the other hand, if you had used 1 digit extra and if you divide it, it will be 9.58. The wrong way gives you an incorrect value. Even though it looks okay, the right way keeps extra digit until the end. So this is the right way of doing. They always keep an extra digit in the intermediate steps. And at the end, very end, you can round it completely. So now with this, I would encourage you to try these examples and write your answers in a comment. The first question is to find the density, which is by dividing mass with volume. Write your answer with significant digits, write significant digits. Second one is subtraction, 12.9 grams minus 7.06 gram. Again, write your answer with right number of decimal places and then find the volume of something which has a cubic dimensions 7.203 meter cube, and write your answer with significant correct number of significant figures.